wrapped around your soul.
Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. We're back with part 5 of decluttering my entire makeup collection, starting with my eyeshadow palettes.
And underwater, there's so much water.
We finally made it to the end. This is the last video of the 5-part series that this has become over here on my channel. And if you would like to see any of the other videos of this declutter series, they will be listed in the description box as well as in the cards for you guys if you want to go see all of the other palettes that I have decluttered so far. This is the last remaining palettes from my collection. So if you want to see how many more of the last of these palettes I am about to declutter, then just make sure to keep on watching. But before we get into the video, make sure you guys subscribe. I put out content weekly, so you don't want to miss out on all the fun. Also, make sure to check the down bar for all my other links to all my other social media platforms. Without further ado, let's just go ahead and hop on in and finish decluttering the rest of these palettes. So we finally made it to the last video of my eyeshadow palette declutter series. I just wanted to give a shout out and say thank you to the tremendous amount of support that I've had on this declutter series so far. It really means a lot to me that so many of you have been so very supportive, and I also wanted to say thank you for your patience while I worked through this process of decluttering these palettes. We have done very well so far, and I have met my goal of trying to declutter anywhere between 60 to 80 palettes. I have met my goal and am still continuing to surpass that goal a little bit each day and each video that we film. As I've had in my previous videos, you will see in here the number of the declutters that I have will be listed here, as well as the number of palettes that I'm keeping will be listed on this side of the screen, so we have a number to work with and go off of. This is the last video. I'm going to get the rest of these palettes that you see right here into this video so that we can finish up this series and continue moving down the line to the rest of my makeup. Let's just go ahead and hop on in. I don't know how many of these palettes that are remaining I'm going to necessarily declutter. Just a disclaimer, because most of these are like my favorites. Don't act surprised when you see my keep number climb significantly, just because the fact that I've decluttered over 60 palettes from my collection already is way more than I thought I was ever going to let go of. So I'm very proud, even if it was just to stay at the number that it is at now, which is close to 70. We're just gonna go ahead and hop right on in, starting with my Dominique Cosmetics Berries and Cream eyeshadow palette. This is just a beautiful berry toned palette. I absolutely love her matte formula. Dominique Cosmetics matte formula is to die for. Some of the best mattes out there on the market. This is a really beautiful color story. I haven't really created with this a whole lot yet, so I do know that every look I have made with it thus far I have really enjoyed. I love how she makes her pans a little bit bigger for one, and a lot of her shades are multi-purposed, so you can use them for like not only as eyeshadows but also to like set your concealer. Some of her browns you can use for contour, and some of her pinks you can use for blushes. So I love how she multi-purposes her shadows. This is definitely a beautiful palette, and I'm not ready to let it go yet. So for now, I'm gonna go ahead and hold on to this. Up next, we have the Dominique Cosmetics Rustic Glam palette, which is another just beautiful color story. This palette is definitely one of my favorite palettes that I have. I just absolutely adore this palette. These shades are like perfect for springtime right now, with the light blues and the greens and the oranges and the light pinks. It's just a beautiful palette. This shade, Moonchild, is quite exceptional. As you can see there, it is a very sparkly, beautiful matte shade with teeny tiny flecks of like blue glitter in them. It is such a gorgeous palette. I'm definitely going to be holding on to this one as well, just because I love this palette. I love Dominique Cosmetics formula, and it is a definite keep for me. And lastly, from Dominique Cosmetics, we have the Celestial Storm palette. Now, I know that BoxyCharm came out with the Celestial Thunder palette, which is a smaller size of this palette. It is just a gorgeous, gorgeous color story. The only shades that I really have some difficulty with in this palette are both the shades Electric Amethyst and Stargaze. These two shades are the only ones that kind of give me a little bit of difficulty. They're rather difficult to pick up with on a brush, and just with my finger in general, I really struggled with these two, which is such a shame because really this corner alone is almost what sold me on the palette. Especially Stargaze. It just looks so beautiful. I wish I can really kind of zoom in there and have you guys see it a little bit better. I think the next time that I do use this palette, I'm really going to have to try to dig at it and lift up the product a little better to see if I can't make it work better. But for now, I'm definitely going to go ahead and hold on to this one as well, just because I do really love her formula. And it is a beautiful color story. This is definitely going to be a keep for now. Up next, we have my Nabla Secret palette. This palette is really, really gorgeous. I really enjoy Nabla Cosmetics formula. This is the only palette that I own from Nabla Cosmetics. I have created a really, really stunning look with this. It's the only look that I have had a chance to create with it yet. The shades are very, very buttery, very pigmented, very blendable, and the metallics are very creamy. So far with this, so very good. The only shade that kind of gave me a little bit of difficulties is this shade right here called Play Hard. It is super pretty. It's like a multi-dimensional shade, but it is rather like chunky and hard to pick up. So that's really the only shade so far that has given me any difficulties. It is a really gorgeous palette and a really gorgeous color story. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and hold on to it. Up next, we have my Indie Beat Cosmetics Heartthrobs palette. This was recently sent over to me, as well as this other one here, and I'll go over that one next. But this is the Heartthrobs palette from Indie Beat Cosmetics, which is a indie brand. They base their palettes around India, who is the brand owner, her passion for music with makeup, and I think that is just a really great idea. And as you can see, this palette is really, really stunning. It does have a lot of pressed glitters in it. This is a pressed glitter. I Swear is a pressed glitter, and Forever My Lady is a pressed glitter, as well as Story of My Life looks like a really beautiful sparkling black pressed glitter, and then SOS. So the rest of these are looking to be like shimmers and mattes, but there is a lot of pressed glitters in here. So I will probably declutter this and list this on my Mercari page at some point, but for now I'm gonna go ahead and hold on to this just because I haven't really created with it yet. I haven't had a chance to really develop any type of an opinion on it. It is stunning, but because it has so many pressed glitters in it, I can see myself getting rid of this relatively soon, just because I don't like a whole lot of pressed glitters in eyeshadow palettes anymore. I kind of grew out of that whole trend or phase that with pressed glitters. For now, I'm going to go ahead and hold on to it, but eventually I will go ahead and declutter it. Up next, we have my Makeup Revolution Chilled Cannabis with Sativa palette. This is just a green, beautiful green toned palette, and I don't own many green tone palettes. I have created some really, really beautiful green looks with this palette. Oh, this one is really beautiful. The shades perform really nicely. I'm not the biggest fan of Makeup Revolution's formula overall, but their Forever Flawless line, which is the line that this comes from, they're actually really quite nice. So I do really enjoy this palette. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and hold on to it. I told you guys that in this last pile that there was definitely going to be more keeps than declutters. So just keep that in mind. I will be keeping the majority of these palettes and basically just showcasing to you guys the last final palettes of my collection and probably keeping the majority of them. Up next, we have the other Indie Beat Cosmetics palette that was sent over to me from the brand. This is the Bombshells palette. It is just a really fun, colorful, poppy palette. Look at how beautiful those pops of color are. It is such a bright, vibrant palette. And even this pressed glitter here, Free Your Mind, is like stars, like pressed glitter stars. So it looks like a really fun pressed glitter. And this one isn't as bad as far as having as many pressed glitters. I believe Wannabe is a pressed glitter, Damaged and Free Your Mind are the only pressed glitters in here. But you can see it is brand spanking new. I have yet to even create with this. I definitely want to at least try to create at least one look with this before I decide on whether to declutter this and just let somebody else get some enjoyment out of it, or keep it if I absolutely love the formula. For now, again, we're gonna go ahead and keep. Up next, we have the e.l.f. Retro Paradise palette, which is relatively newer to my collection. I mean, I have gotten some good use out of it. As you can see, it's gotten some of the pans have some nice dips in there, but it is relatively newer to my collection. It is a really beautiful mix of both warm tones and cool tones and some pops of color over here. So I like that it has the variety of both neutral tones with some pops of color. If you want to really experiment and try to play with color, this would be a really great palette to use. And the formula is really nice as well. A couple of the shades are really hardly pressed in the pan, such as Paraiso up here. I mean, it is really hardly pressed in there. You kind of have to dig it, and I'm going to try to dig on that next because it is a really gorgeous shade. But as you can see, it's almost like hard pan in the pan itself. But the other shades so far are so very good. So I'm definitely going to go ahead and hold on to this one as well. Up next, we have my Huda Beauty new Nude palette. Getting into my Huda palettes, I'm definitely going to be keeping all of my Hudas, I'm pretty sure, just because her palettes and her color stories and just the concept of her palettes are so well thought out. I love the variety of tones and textures and depth that she puts in her palettes. They are just stunning to not only look at, but also to use and create with. This palette is really beautiful. It's just a pinky tone, brownish berry mauve, dusty mauve palette, and it is more on the cooler tone side. These crushed pearl shades are absolutely to die for. So very creamy and very rich. There are 2 pressed glitters in here. I have tried to create 1 or 2 looks with them, and they are pretty, but again, I'm just not a fan of pressed glitters. I think we've pretty much surpassed palettes doing the pressed glitter phase. And then the shade Concealed down here is like a cream shade. I just like how different and like kind of trend setting her palettes are. She's the first to really create an eyeshadow palette with the cream eyeshadow primer in the palette, as well as just the variety of different textures within her palettes. I'm definitely going to be holding on to this one as well. I just create beautiful looks time and time again when I use this, so it's definitely a keep. And I know so far I don't have any decluttered yet for this finale, but like I said, the finale of this was just basically going to be showcasing a lot of my most favorite, most loved palettes because I did save them for the end. Up next, we have the Juvia's Place Sahara 2 palette, and it is really a beautiful color story. This light teal shade, I cannot pronounce that word. If you guys can, let me know, but I'm not going to even attempt to try to butcher that. All of these metallics in here are absolutely beautiful. These 6 up here are the main reason I keep this palette because they are just so freaking good. They're so creamy, so beautiful. This orange creamy metallic, I don't have anything like that in my collection. I'm sure I have some blues. This blue shade right here is just absolutely beautiful. And the mattes are actually really nice as well. And I have done rather well at getting rid of a lot of my Juvia's Place palettes, so I would feel bad almost if I was to declutter this just because I've gotten rid of a lot of them. And I didn't even necessarily get rid of them because they were bad. It's just a way for me to try to get rid of some of my palettes and free up some space in my collection. It is a really warm tone palette, and I know I have these colors 10 times over, even with what remains of my eyeshadow palettes. I'm just gonna go ahead and declutter it. It makes me sad, but I have to try to at least get rid of a couple more because again, the majority of these I'm about to keep, so. Up next, we have my Natasha Denona Mini Retro Palette. this bad boy is not going anywhere. It is just a really gorgeous, gorgeous color story. I would really like to see Natasha Denona kind of come out with one of her bigger $60 palettes based upon this kind of a color story for the mini retro. And this is actually in one of my project pans this year. I am attempting to pan this as my Pan That Mini palette that I'm doing over on my Instagram. It is a really beautiful color story, and it's Natasha Denona, you guys. So her formula, even in this mini palette, is really good. Now, there are a couple of her mini palettes that I am strongly considering decluttering, and we will get to those shortly, but this one is not going anywhere. It is just so gorgeous and so good. Up next, we have my Huda Beauty Topaz Obsessions palette. The formula in this is really impeccable, you guys. This is a really beautiful orange, just rich, warm toned, gorgeous palette. And the shimmers are all really, really great. The formula in this is really incredible. Some of the newer shimmer formula that she has came out with is like getting a little bit questionable, and it kind of makes me sad because the original formula of these shimmers and her original gemstone obsession palettes are really good. If I definitely wanted to do an orange, warm, rich look, I know that this palette will not let me down. It is absolutely gorgeous, and I'm definitely going to go ahead and hold on to it. Up next, we have my Colourpop Going Coconuts palette, which is just a beautiful neutral tone lover's dream of an eyeshadow palette. And I've gotten rid of a lot of my Colourpop palettes saying that, you know, I've been a little underwhelmed by the formula, I'm not gonna lie. But this formula in this one is really impeccable. It's really good. And it is just the perfect neutral mid-tone eyeshadow palette. So if I need to create something a little more toned down, then I know I can reach for this and it will not let me down. The formula in here is really great, and it's just the perfect neutral palette because I do love to do neutral tone looks, and I don't really have many just all neutral tone palettes. Not as neutral as this one is. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and hold on to it. Up next, we have my Natasha Denona Mini Gold palette, and this is probably one of the best, closest comparisons to her bigger 28 pan palette formula out of all of the minis that she has created that I own personally. And it is really just a gorgeous, gorgeous color story. I love the green tones in here and just the rich, warm goldness that runs throughout these green tones. The formula is so creamy and so good. So I'm not letting go of this bad boy anytime soon. So I will be holding on to it. Up next, we have the Natasha Denona Mini Sunrise. Now, this is probably the most disappointing formula so far that I have out of her mini palettes. I think she kind of snuck this one in on us and really tricked us to think that it was going to be something phenomenal. But sadly, these shades are just a little underwhelming and they are kind of disappointing, I'm not going to lie. And I can pretty much make any kind of eyeshadows work, but these are just very underwhelming. They're a bit patchy, and I mean, it's a really pretty color story, but if there's going to be any of my Natasha Denonas I'm going to let go of, it's going to be this one. So sadly, I'm going to go ahead and declutter. Up next, we have my Natasha Denona Mini Lila palette. Again, as beautiful as this one looks, it is, again, just underwhelming, you guys. It makes me really sad, especially like this blue shade. It looks so beautiful, but it is not nearly as beautiful on the eye, or does it nearly perform as good as it does as it looks in the pan. And these purples are just very, very patchy and just very kind of dull. This mid-tone brown is really gorgeous, and so is this one, but I don't want to hold on to it if 3 out of the 5 pans in here are bad. That's not a good ratio. As a result, I'm gonna go ahead and declutter this one as well. It makes me sad because I love Natasha Denona, but the quality is just not there. So now we're going to go ahead and get into my mini e.l.f. bite-size palettes, and I have with me currently 7 of them, I believe. So let's go ahead and knock these out. Starting with my e.l.f. This is the Hot Jalapeno Mini Bite-Size Palette, and it's just beautiful. I have not even used this one yet. It is not brand new to my collection, but it is new in a sense that it has been unused yet, so I have yet to use this. A lot of you guys rave about this quality of this one because, and comparing it to the other quality of the other minis that I have used, if I could compare it to those are all really good. So I know this one is good as well. I know my friend Adelina, this is like her favorite green tones. I'm definitely going to go ahead and hold on to this. Up next, we have the e.l.f. Bite Size Truffles palette, and it is really beautiful. It's like a cooler tone, little mini palette with the beautiful silver shade and a dark black shade, and you can really just make some cool tone, neutral looks with this. It is really good formula. They're really softly pressed in there, so they do perform quite nice. Some of them are, you know, it's e.l.f., so some of them are not the greatest in quality, or you just kind of got to build them up, but I do really enjoy these. For $3 a piece, you can't beat it. So I'm gonna go ahead and hold on to it. Up next, we have the e.l.f. Cream and Sugar palette. As you can see, I just now noticed this when I opened it, that these two are kind of lifting. The shimmer shades in here are lifting a little bit, which again, I just did mention that they are very softly pressed in here. So I'm kind of afraid that if I go to use these, if they will start to crumble. I'm not really sure. I did recently just pick up the Natasha Denona Mini Nude palette, which I think this is like an exact dupe of. So I don't need both of them. I think if I'm gonna get rid of any of these bite-sized palettes, it might be this one, just because I'm just now noticing that those two bottom ones are lifting a little bit. So I will just go ahead and declutter it. I'm actually surprised at myself. I didn't think I was gonna declutter any of these, so. Up next, we have the e.l.f. Rose Water, little bite size. This one still looks like it's in pretty good condition. I really do enjoy it for these two shades mainly. You could just do such really soft, simple looks with these, and they are really great for $3. Again, you can't beat it. The only shade that's kind of like meh is this darker shade over here, just because it's like a satin shimmer and it's darker, so because it's darker, it's harder to use. Like, you either do a dark color for depth that is a matte, or don't do dark shadows at all, because to do dark shimmers, it just is questionable. Unless you do like an all smoky eye based around a dark color, I don't really understand the reasoning for that. It is beautiful, but actually, I think I'm just gonna go ahead and declutter this one because I'm not going to use it anymore. So I'm going to try to get rid of a couple of them, even though I really love them. So for now, I'm just going to go ahead and declutter it. Next, we have the Berry Bad little quad, and as you can see, this one is untouched, never even used yet, and I think that's the main reason why I got rid of the Rose Water one, just because I want to keep this one, and they are both like kind of berry tones. Granted, the Rose Water is more of mauve tones, and I just have a lot of these in my collection, so I'm okay with letting that one go. But this one, I haven't even used it yet, and it just looks really beautiful. And again, for $3, you guys, you really cannot beat it. If you have been curious about picking up these bite-sized little quads from e.l.f., I highly recommend picking up a couple of them. You cannot go wrong with the price, and the quality is really there for the most part. So I will go ahead and hold on to this. Up next, we have the e.l.f. the ICU one, or IQ, Acai. Oh Lord, I'm not even gonna try. But this is the more all blue, like periwinkle blue toned version. And again, it's untouched, never been used yet. So I'm definitely gonna go ahead, hold on to it so I can, in fact, use it and see how pretty they are. They look stunning in the pan. It looks like it would perform rather nicely. So for now, I'm gonna go ahead and hold on to it. And then the last one from the e.l.f. bite-sized palettes I have is the e.l.f. Pumpkin Pie, which is just your rich, warm tones, like copper tone palette. I have created one look with this, and I really love the way it came out. This is like perfect for fall time, even though we are quickly approaching summertime. It is a really pretty palette, and again, I do really enjoy the formula, and this one is really nice. So for now, I will be holding on to it. Up next, we have the OMFG Cosmetics. This is their #1 eyeshadow palette. There isn't a name for it, but it is really, really beautiful. I picked up 2 of these, and I did put one in a giveaway recently, and I kept one, and I created, I think, 1 look with this so far, and the look was really pretty. It's just like a more neutral, not nothing crazy, just a neutral tone palette, and that pink is really, really pretty. The mid-tone brown in here is gorgeous, and the shimmers are really, really nice. So I do really enjoy the quality of this palette. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and hold on to it. Up next, we have my Colourpop Sweet Talk palette, and I've been saying to myself throughout the process of this declutter that this is one of the Colourpop palettes that I absolutely adore. The quality of this palette is really, really nice. I mean, it has 2 pressed glitters in it. I wish they would have made a couple more really rich, creamy metallics, or 1 more matte and 1 more shimmer. The shade Side to Side is their Super Shock, so that's really gorgeous. And I just like the variety of tones in here and the variety of depth that you can use to really create some really soft washes of peachy, summery bronze looks, or you can really add some depth and drama with these deep dark shades down here, or you can really go pink, or you can really go warm. You can go crazy and throw some glitter all over. So it is a great palette with a lot of variety. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and hold on to it. Up next, we have my BH Cosmetics Hangin' in Hawaii palette. And I freaking love this palette, you guys. I said it time and time again, and I'll say it again. These 16 pan palettes that BH Cosmetics makes is absolutely to die for. The formula in here is superb. So buttery smooth, so pigmented, so blendable, and just beautiful. They are not patchy or anything in the least sense of the bit. And these shimmer metallics in here are blinding, especially like the shade Pineapple. Let me see if I can't give you guys a couple swatches, even though I'm not in the best lighting right now at where I'm at, so it's not going to look nearly as blinding as they should. That's why I really haven't swatched out too many of my palettes that I'm keeping for you guys, just because the lighting where I'm at isn't the greatest, so I do apologize for that, but they are so blinding. It's just, you can't see it in here. I'm definitely holding on to this. This is one of my favorite neutral, just beautiful, rich, warm tone palettes that I own, and it was only like 16 bucks, so I'm definitely holding on to it. Up next, we have just a paint palette. I don't even think there is a name for an actual brand for this. It's just 12 flash color palette, and this is like for painting. Like if you ever want to paint on your face and stuff, I picked this up. And I got it from somebody's recommendation on YouTube. I can't remember who the channel was. I know she uses this a lot. All it is safe, eco-friendly paint to really get super creative with and paint looks and stuff on your face or your body. So I thought it would be a great idea to really have this. Even though I have yet to use it, I'm on the hunt for like the perfect type of brushes to use with this, to create with this. So if any of you guys have any recommendations on, should I use like regular paint brushes with this, or should I use eyeshadow brushes for this since it is paint? Let me know what you guys think. I would definitely greatly appreciate it. So because it is brand new and I have never even used it yet, I'm gonna definitely hold on to it.
2,000 years later.
Up next, we have my Juvia's Place, the Douce palette. This palette just absolutely screams springtime to me. I think it is perfect for this time of year with these beautiful light rich mattes, as well as these really gorgeous, extremely foily pigmented metallics that we all know that Juvia's Place knocks out of the park time and time again. The only shade that there's always seems to be one shade that's questionable in Juvia's Place palettes, and it's the shade up here, the shade Chocolat, and it is a beautiful chocolate rich matte shade. It just kind of doesn't belong in the palette, though you can definitely use it to add depth to any of your looks. I don't want to necessarily get rid of this just because I've been getting rid of a lot of my Juvia's Place palettes For now, I'm going to go ahead and hold on to this one because I do really enjoy this color story, and I've done rather well at decluttering quite a few of my Juvia's Place palettes, so I don't want to get rid of necessarily all of them. This one is beautiful, especially that green shade. It's really, really stunning. So for now, I'm going to go ahead and hold on to it. Up next, we have my Huda Beauty Desert Dusk palette. This is just a beautiful, rich, warm tone palette. I remember when this released, it was all the craze. Everybody absolutely loved this palette for good reason. It is definitely more of her original formula. She has since like reformulated, and her formula just consistently gets better and better, I feel. But this formula nonetheless is really, really good. It's just a little drier than her average formula, or than most formulas actually out here on the market. But I do really love it. It's Huda Beauty. You guys know I love my Huda Beauty palettes, and for that reason alone, I'm going to definitely go ahead and be holding on to this one as well. Up next, we have another Huda Beauty palette, which is the Rose Gold Remastered palette. This is the one that she remastered from the original Rose Gold palette. It is really stunning. I haven't really created a whole lot of looks with it, though it definitely has gotten some use and some love. The shade Pink Diamonds is probably one of the most beautiful, sparkly, multi-reflective shades that I have in my entire collection. That shade alone is just to die for. It is stunning. I do really, again, just enjoy the formula. I do like that it has been reformulated, so it's the remastered version. You can really create a lot of different types of looks with this. You can create some smoky looks, you can create some purple, pink looks, and you can create some warm tones. You have your neutral tones, your golds, so it does really have a lot of variety. I'm definitely going to also be holding on to this because it's Huda Beauty, and I love my Huda palettes. Up next, we have the Ciate London Glitter Storm palette, and can we just take a minute to pause and look at how freaking beautiful that packaging is. It is so gorgeous. It is so aesthetically pleasing. Just the packaging of this alone is so beautiful. I am such a sucker for really good packaging, and I believe that was the main reason I picked this one up. But the color story is actually really pretty too. These shimmer shades up here are quite sparkly. Very, very gorgeous. I haven't really created a whole lot with this. I knew the closer we got to the end, the more difficult it was going to be for me to let go of some palettes. And I have held on to a lot of the ones in this finale, which I did tell you guys I would be holding on to the majority of the ones in this video. And it's more or less just me showcasing the ones that remain that I am deciding to keep, which is pretty much all of them. There's only going to be a couple declutters in this video, and just kind of showing you guys the remaining palettes that I own, which it took us 5 videos to get through, but we made it. So I don't really know what to do with this one, you guys. I don't want to necessarily declutter it because it hasn't gotten a whole lot of use out of it. It is a beautiful color story. For now, I'm just going to go ahead and declutter it, and maybe I'll let somebody else get some enjoyment out of it. The main reason I'm wanting to hold on to it is just because of the top row alone. Those sparkly glitter shades are stunning. I will go ahead and try to list this. If it doesn't sell relatively fast, then I'll go ahead and pull it and hold on to it. So for now, I'll go ahead and declutter it. Make sure you guys go check out the second part of this video right now. Since I had to split this video into 2 segments due to technical difficulties in my editing.